Greetings to all our viewers tuning into our channel. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our deep dives into the major shifts reshaping our region and the world. The endless corridors of JFK, LAX, and Miami once echoed with footsteps and cheerful chatter from travelers arriving from every corner of the globe. People rolled their suitcases along, grabbed a quick hot coffee before boarding, their eyes full of anticipation for the adventure awaiting them in America, a land long seen as humanity's shared dream. But now, that space has fallen silent. Empty rows of cold seats, motionless baggage carousels, and immigration counters deserted of people. And this isn't just a lull of a few random days, it's become the new normal. From New York to Seattle, Los Angeles to Boston, the United States is witnessing something rare. Its skies are empty, and the once bustling gateways now feel more like abandoned train stations. The numbers are staggering. Between 2023 and 2025, international arrivals to the U.S. dropped by 60% to nearly 80% across many major airports. This isn't just a tourism crisis where hotels, restaurants, taxis, and museums are caught in a spiral of decline. It's also an invisible but deeply significant loss. A loss of soft power, a loss of the prestige once held by a superpower that helped define the norms of global exchange. When international travelers no longer see America as their first destination of choice, could it be that the crown of world tourism capital has quietly slipped from Washington's grasp, passed instead to destinations that are more open, more welcoming? So what happened? Why has a country that once opened its arms to the world now retreated behind the chill of its own airport gates? What turned the American dream from an invitation into a barrier? The answers lie in the very economic policies and political signals coming out of the White House in recent years, from suffocating tariffs to the far-reaching ripple effects of the Trump effect. And that's exactly the story we're about to explore next. The emptiness haunting America's airports didn't happen by chance. It's the result of a complex mix of policy decisions and shifting social sentiment, starting with the wave of tariff orders rolled out between 2023 and 2025. When Washington chose to erect trade barriers against Canada, Mexico, China, and numerous other partners, the message sent wasn't just aimed at corporations. It was felt by individual travelers as well. America is no longer as welcoming as it once was. People travel to the U.S. not just to shop or sightsee, but to experience a spirit of freedom and openness. But when the government turns entry into a stressful ordeal, with strict screenings, probing eyes from security staff, and a general atmosphere of suspicion, excitement is slowly replaced by hesitation. That's how a ripple effect began to take hold, what many now call the Trump effect. And it's not merely the legacy of one former president, but the amplification of a broader wave: political populism, economic protectionism, inward-facing policies, and a hardline stance broadcast loudly across global media. The image of America as a dream destination has become clouded by controversy, by chants of America first, and by a cold rigidity felt right at the immigration line. For many travelers, the decision is simple. Instead of risking hours of scrutiny and stress at a U.S. airport, why not head to Toronto, Dubai, or Singapore, where the red carpet is still rolled out for international visitors? This shift isn't just a passing trend, it's a direct consequence of a worldview that turns inward, running counter to the tide of globalization. When a superpower chooses to build walls, the world responds by charting its own new paths. And the first, most visible impact? It shows up in the airports, the very spaces that mirror a nation's identity. Among them, New York's JFK stands as the clearest example. Once hailed as the front door to America, JFK now finds itself in an unprecedented slump, a symbol of a slow, creeping decline. And it is here, more clearly than anywhere else, that the fading of America's soft power is being drawn into sharp focus. JFK, once the pride of America's East Coast, used to be the first touchpoint for millions of international travelers. Just the mention of New York would conjure images of JFK, a bustling gateway where passengers from London, Paris, Tokyo, or São Paulo merged into an endless stream, eager to begin their journey into the capital of the world. But now, the numbers tell a sobering story. International traffic at JFK has plummeted by a staggering 78%. a blow not only to the aviation industry but to the entire city's economy. Once vital air routes like New York-Paris and New York-Tokyo have thinned out, with many airlines scaling back or pulling out entirely. And the damage doesn't stop at the airport gates. Manhattan's luxury hotels, once fully booked year-round, now face record low occupancy, with many forced to downsize staff. New York's iconic yellow cabs, symbols etched into pop culture, are carrying fewer passengers than ever. Drivers wait for hours outside the airport only to leave empty. Restaurants, cafes, and souvenir shops in Queens and Brooklyn, neighborhoods once teeming with international visitors, have fallen eerily quiet. Thousands of jobs have vanished with every canceled flight, leaving behind an economic void that's hard to fill. But more painful than the financial loss is the geopolitical one. JFK is more than just an airport. It's America's front porch, the very first impression the world gets when stepping into the country. And when that front porch goes dark, when long corridors echo only with empty announcements, it signals something deeper, a fading of trust and allure. A superpower isn't just losing tourists, it's losing the welcoming image that once defined its soft power. Decline often begins in the smallest of places, and right now, JFK stands as a mirror, reflecting that slow descent. And if JFK is the symbol of decline on the East Coast, then the story unfolding on the West Coast is even more grim. For this was the land of creativity, technology, and culture, from the buzzing terminals of LAX to the friendly faces in Portland to Seattle's international vibe. Yet now, these gateways too are transforming into America's broken doors. Let's turn our gaze westward, where the cracks in the image of a superpower have never been more exposed. If JFK on the East Coast is a mirror reflecting the erosion of America's soft power, then the West Coast paints an even heavier, more sobering picture, because this was once the beating heart of American creativity, innovation, and global connection. Los Angeles, LAX, was long considered the most vital gateway linking the U.S. with the Asia-Pacific. Each day, hundreds of flights from Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, and Sydney poured into LAX, carrying millions of travelers and billions in investment. Hollywood, the world's pop culture capital, thrived on that influx. Studio tours, blockbuster premieres, and international film conventions all depended on the steady rhythm of LAX. But now, with international arrivals down 71%, routes to Asia slashed, and many airlines canceling schedules altogether, that window to the world is nearly shut. Hollywood feels adrift, a grand stage with an empty audience. Portland's story is even more tragic. Once hailed as a model of sustainable development, its green, traveler-friendly airport was a point of civic pride. But today, it feels like a ghost terminal. Vast hallways sit abandoned, duty-free shops stand shuttered, and airport staff have either been reassigned or let go. Even more troubling is how Portland's former standing has been eclipsed by its neighbor to the north, Vancouver, Canada. International travelers now choose to land in Vancouver and connect to other North American cities from there, rather than brave the burdensome procedures of a direct flight into the U.S. In just 2 years, Portland has gone from a symbol of pride to a source of regret. Then there's Seattle, the tech-driven city, America's direct bridge to the Pacific. It too has been hit hard. Major airlines like Japan's ANA and the UK's British Airways have pulled out or dramatically scaled back operations. Seattle was once a magnet for global tech leaders, researchers, and innovation summits. But as Boeing, the industrial crown jewel of American aviation, sinks deeper into crisis, the perception of the U.S. has darkened further. Today, Asian entrepreneurs and delegates who once came to Seattle for deals and partnerships are choosing Singapore, Tokyo, or even Seoul, cities now surging ahead with confidence and momentum. Looking at the bigger picture, the West Coast, once America's emblem of technology, culture, and creative energy, is morphing into a set of broken doors. When even LAX, Portland, and Seattle can no longer hold their international ground, it's hard to claim that American soft power remains intact. And if this decline is clearly visible on both coasts, then as we turn our gaze southward and northward to places like Miami and Boston, once radiant with the lights of tourism, culture, and education, we begin to sense another undercurrent, slow but relentless, pulling America ever further away from the brilliance it once proudly wore. Miami, once dubbed the Golden Gateway connecting the U.S. with Latin America, now stands as a stark testament to decline. The long stretches of white sand beaches, once packed with tourists from Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia, are now eerily empty. Flights from São Paulo, Mexico City, and Buenos Aires have been drastically reduced, with some routes cut altogether as LATAM Airlines and other major carriers pull out due to shrinking profits. A 64% drop in travelers from what was once a key market hasn't just drained Miami of massive revenue, it's drained the very energy that made the city irresistible. Along the coast, the once vibrant bars and restaurants that lit up the night now sit quiet, the pulse of salsa music replaced by silence. High-rise hotels with ocean views are slashing prices aggressively and still struggling to fill rooms. Immigrant workers, long the backbone of Miami's tourism sector, now face joblessness, carrying the daily burden of survival on their shoulders. Up in the Northeast, Boston tells a different story, but one no less bleak. Known as the intellectual cradle of America, home to some of the world's most prestigious universities, Harvard, MIT, Boston University, the city now faces a painful reality: an unprecedented drop in international students. As immigration policies grow stricter and fears of visa denials or detainment at entry points mount, many students are choosing Canada, Europe, or Singapore over the U.S. That shift means Boston is losing the very flow of talent that fuels its scientific research and innovation. International conferences that once brought prestige and global scholars to the city are dwindling. The downturn in tourism hasn't just emptied Boston's landmarks, it's shaken the foundations of its educational and scientific ecosystems. From Miami to Boston, a common thread emerges. America isn't just losing tourists, it's losing the flow of culture, intellect, and global connection. And when even cities once seen as icons of vitality and intelligence are caught in this spiral, a bigger question looms: is there any gateway left that can carry the image of America? The answer, sadly, is sobering. Newark, long considered the fallback when JFK was overloaded, is now crumbling too, becoming yet another symbol of systemic decay. It's no longer a backup plan. It's a clear sign that the entire framework is rotting from the roots. Newark, once seen as the lifeline whenever JFK overflowed, has now become a symbol of collapse. This airport, once bustling with overflow flights from Europe and the Middle East, is now witnessing a mass exodus of international airlines. Emirates, which used to bring tens of thousands of passengers from Dubai to Newark each month, has pulled out. Virgin Atlantic, Swiss, and other major carriers have followed suit, abandoning their check-in counters and leaving behind empty silence stretching through the vast, hollow terminals. Newark used to take pride in being the go-to alternative for travelers hoping to avoid the crowds at JFK. But now it's become a nightmare in its own right. Stories circulate of passengers waiting up to 2 hours just to clear security, while baggage carousels pile up in chaos, suitcases scattered like abandoned freight. These experiences quickly made their way onto social media, further tarnishing an already faltering reputation for U.S. air travel, and the image of a once world-leading superpower now watching even its backup gateways rot away feels like a grim admission. The entire system is broken from within. If JFK was the front porch and LAX the door to the west, then Newark was the last supporting wall. And now that wall has cracked, America's house of soft power stands without a foundation. From there, the ripple effects are becoming unmistakably clear. It's no longer just about airports. The shockwaves are hitting the entire American economy and society. Revenues are vanishing, jobs are disappearing, and local communities are sinking into uncertainty. Together, these shifts are triggering a quiet but dangerous chain reaction, one that signals fractures too deep to easily repair. The cold, hard numbers reveal that the decline in international visitors alone is costing the U.S. over $12.5 billion in annual revenue. But beyond the dollars lost, the damage runs much deeper and far more personal. Hotels that once lit up the night now shutter floor after floor. Renowned restaurants in Manhattan and Miami are cutting staff. Taxi drivers, tour guides, souvenir vendors all share a common fear: there's simply no one left to serve. These are ordinary people, lives once intertwined with the steady rhythm of global tourism, now silent victims of confrontational policies and inward-looking decisions. And the fallout isn't just economic, it's social, cultural, and institutional. Trade shows are emptier without international partners. Art exhibitions struggle without global audiences. Universities are seeing a steady erosion in international enrollment. The U.S. isn't just gasping for air economically, it's slowly losing its status as a hub for cultural and intellectual exchange. When the flow of people, ideas, and culture stops, so too does the trust, the very foundation of soft power. Behind the quiet terminals and empty gates lies a society on edge, workers facing lost livelihoods and thought leaders growing anxious about a looming decline in creativity and innovation. And in that vacuum, others have wasted no time stepping up. As America closes itself off, cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Dubai, Doha, and Singapore are swinging their doors wide open, eager to welcome the world. Which brings us to the next chapter, the dramatic rise of new global centers, places now claiming the aviation crown America once wore, and with it, a growing share of geopolitical influence. As America gradually loses its luster as the world's premier hub for tourism and aviation, the vacuum it leaves behind was never going to stay empty for long. Rivals, many of whom have spent years quietly preparing, are now rising swiftly, seizing the moment to surge ahead. Just across the northern border, Canada has emerged as the most direct replacement. Thanks to streamlined immigration policies and efficient procedures, Toronto and Vancouver are drawing in international travelers who once flew straight to New York or Seattle. Tourists from Europe and Asia now choose to land at Toronto Pearson before branching out across the continent. Meanwhile, Vancouver, leveraging its geography and energetic global marketing, has overtaken much of the market share once dominated by Portland and Seattle, positioning itself as the Pacific's new bridge to the world. Further east, the Middle East is rising at breakneck speed. Dubai and Doha haven't just built massive, ultra-modern airports that resemble cities within cities. They've engineered a complete experience, one where travelers truly feel welcomed. Luxury services, swift immigration, and the global image of safe, friendly destinations have turned these cities into the new top choices for long-haul routes between Europe and Asia. In fact, a growing number of international events, trade summits, and major exhibitions, once staples of New York and Los Angeles, are steadily migrating to Dubai and Doha, bringing with them capital, media coverage, and diplomatic influence. In Asia, Singapore and Istanbul, though on different continents, share a similar ambition: to step into the role America once held as the world's primary gateway. Singapore, with its Changi airport repeatedly ranked the best in the world, has transformed a simple layover into a tourism experience in itself. Istanbul, perched at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, is capitalizing on its geostrategic position to become a massive transit hub, attracting travelers not just for convenience, but also for its adaptive, traveler-friendly policies. With Canada, the Middle East, and Asia all rising in unison, America's long-held position as the default gateway to the world is no more. The flow of people, capital, and culture is shifting, and with it so too is soft power and geopolitical influence. The world didn't wait for America to close its doors before finding new paths. Those paths have already opened, brighter, faster, more welcoming. And now the U.S. must confront a profound question. Is today's decline merely a passing phase, or has the aviation crown quietly and permanently been claimed by someone else? Looking back at the full picture, from the quiet halls of JFK in New York, the somber air at LAX in California, to the empty hotels in Miami, and lecture halls lacking international students in Boston, it becomes clear that the drop in visitors isn't just a temporary economic blip. It's a mirror reflecting a slow, persistent erosion of the soft power once held by a superpower that used to lead the world. Dimmed airport corridors, abandoned check-in counters, wave after wave of canceled flights. These aren't just signs of a tourism industry in crisis. They're a warning. Even a powerful America can lose its place at the center of the world without vision and openness. Those empty skies speak louder than numbers. They speak of fading trust, of a nation once seen as the symbol of freedom and exchange, now causing travelers to take detours. They speak of workers losing jobs, local communities gasping for breath, and universities falling short of the global talent they once attracted. And more importantly, they speak of shifting geopolitical power, shifting along flight paths, following the flow of people now turning toward Toronto, Dubai, and Singapore, instead of landing in New York or Los Angeles. Yet, this doesn't mean America has lost everything. A superpower with a vast economy, scientific might, and cultural depth still has what it takes to rise again, if it chooses to open its arms to the world. The lesson of the empty skies is a wake-up call. True strength doesn't just come from stockpiles or GDP growth. It comes from the trust and inspiration a nation instills in the hearts of people everywhere. Only when America rediscovers its spirit of connection, instead of retreating inward, can it reignite the gateways that once lit up the world. And now we turn the question over to you, our audience. Can America reclaim its aviation crown, or has it truly passed to Toronto, Dubai, or Singapore? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next stories shaping our world today.